All right, good morning. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Atchison County Commission meeting for Tuesday, April 1st. Thank you for your patience. It is 10:12. We were a little delayed due to the computer here in the commission room needs to be upgraded. So appreciate your patience. I would like to call the meeting to order. I will provide roll call. Commissioner Campbell.
Here.
Commissioner Knoll.
Here.
Commissioner Quinn is present. We do not have an invocation this morning, but if you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, public comment. Seeing none. Approval of the agenda. Okay, I have a couple things to add to our agenda. So we will have a proclamation for Child Abuse Prevention Month. There will be a letter of support under new business for the Always Community Health Clinic. And then under Joe Snyder's report, we will have a county lake mowing RFP. So with those additions, I would look for a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0. Moving on to consent agenda, we had two sets of minutes to review for approval. The special meeting minutes looked fine to me, so I would call a motion for one of you to approve the special meeting minutes from Thursday, March 27th, 2025.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I'm doing this a little different because with the other minutes, the Tuesday, March 25th, I just had noticed there's a couple times in there that Commissioner Quinn was named and it should be Commissioner Knoll. So we can get those adjusted when the clerk gets back and then we can get those approved. All right, next is the finance director review.
Good morning. So
Morning.
For tomorrow, April 2nd, the AP run, there's in credit cards is $3,583.56. Out of that was EMS and joint communications. EMS was $1,659.77. Joint communications was $1,923.79. Background searches, hardware store, toiletry items, trash bags, Ancestry, monthly fee, ProShed, and Adobe. Those are all recurring items that those departments generally have. The total for the check run is $376,247.87. $206,904 was for the appropriations. Due to the cyber incident that we had, we weren't able to get those checks issued until tomorrow. But the board had already approved them a couple weeks ago. And then $87,174 is 2 out of the 3 sheriff vehicles that was in the budget. So minus out all of those, it's a normal AP run for the week total, I mean. And there's no payroll this week.
Okay. Thank you for that. I look for a motion to approve the consent agenda in its entirety.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. All of those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0. Commissioner comments. Commissioner Campbell.
I had a good experience at the landfill Friday. Showed up. It was very windy. And you can imagine what that means at the landfill. Mr. Diebold, who works there, was very cordial, directed me where I needed to go. Also, with my load, suggested that part of it come back and go into the glass recycling bin. So I want to commend him for the way he treats customers. He had no idea that I was commissioner. So, but the fact that, everything he had going on, he still was able to pay attention to detail, which is important out there. You know, they separate things for a reason. So anyway, that was my good experience.
Nice.
So,
Commissioner Knoll?
I have a area agency on aging meeting Thursday the 3rd, and then I have a NEKES meeting the 10th. So those are two things that I'll be attending.
Okay.
I had also gotten another text from Mr. Rossmer on his property, and I talked with Pat about it. So if it's all right, I think I'd like to invite him to come talk with the commission. And if he can't do that, then maybe just get hold directly with Pat to talk about how the ordinance works and how that works.
Perfect. All right. So I have our solid waste annual meeting is this Thursday morning with the solid waste committee. So I will be attending that. We had a Northeast Kansas multi-county health meeting last night. And we had two items on the agenda. One was to develop the executive director job description and then look at our bylaws. From that, I wanted to ask permission with you guys. We are one of 3 counties, but we are the only county that has HR in-house as an HR director. And with the executive director position that we're developing and to put out for applications, we were wondering if our HR could be that person, right? They have the capabilities. We have Indeed, we have the website. She knows how to put those things out, and then she would be the one that receives the applications and distributes them to our board. So I talked to her about it this morning just to make sure like that would be something, and she's obviously all in if you guys are okay with that.
I'm fine, and I'm glad because that's my thing. I would want to, and since you've done it, and I'll take, your word that it's fine with her. I think that I'm okay with it.
Yeah, she had even sent me so far. So there's some K.A.C. advertising information, and the local chamber she works with, the Indeed and the website. We were talking last night about utilizing care and maybe a Monday co-host segment. One question, Pat, that we were talking about is this is kind of new for the multi-county health board. If they don't have an application, as long as we would have an application standalone with their logo so that everyone knows it's separate from Atchison County, would that be suffice as far as an application goes? Because
as long as they're, yes.
Okay.
I mean, the decision's going to be by their board.
Yeah.
And if their board, if their board decided somebody didn't need to fill out an application, I think they could hire somebody. But yeah, it should be fine.
So if we utilize our platform to put the executive director role out, here's an application that has Northeast Kansas multi-county, then that would be fine.
Yes.
And just funnel it back through us, and then our HR would pass it on to our board.
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay, cool. Well, I will communicate that back to our board, and that will be getting posted soon.
Now, is there costs for that when you advertise, or is that already included? Like, because we're a member, we can advertise for nothing, or is there a charge specifically?
So K.A.C. specifically, like they have charges, and again, this would be up to the board because they would pay, like that would come out of the board. We're just utilizing us for the conduit basically to get it done. So yes, to your point, if there's a cost,
Like Indeed or something like that.
That would be
just and just reimbursed. I mean,
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
fine.
and I'll work with
Just so we're
HR to
conscious.
figure all that out to make sure we're keeping track of it and communicating that with the board. Okay. Speaking of that, well, when we were talking last night, grants, I didn't realize, but with the cyber, our platform for the grant applications at the multi-county health board, she couldn't get into that as well. So then we were starting to talk about appropriations. And I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page as far as the guidance. We had given guidance to our finance director to send a letter to appropriations on Wednesday, March 19th, that basically told them all, like, we don't need anything from you. And since then, that was asked last night. Well, we need to come and tell you our appropriation. So we heard from Memorial Hall, and they're going to be wanting to get on our agenda and talk to us. How are we going to handle that? Because there's other appropriations asking, and they're like, we were told not to give you anything, but we have needs. So I guess I want to communicate with you guys, because I was like, well, I got to ask them in the meeting, because I know that we've had other conversations with entities of, we're looking to fund you, we're not, and just making sure that we're completely transparent in the process of giving everybody the time, I guess. And I know Memorial Hall reached out to us, so they want to get on the agenda. Is that how we want them to handle it? Do we want them to reach out to us and come present, or like they have in the past? I guess I'm just looking for guidance.
I took that as that we were probably, it was going to be just basically a wash, especially with multi-county health. That's been the same amount for as long as before I was even on the board. And that's what we was most likely going to put in for again. So I guess if there's anything beyond that, any ask greater than that, we should probably have them get on the agenda to present. I thought that when we said we didn't need anything because it's basically the same thing every year, this is kind of a static situation. We're funding you at X, but if they're going to have a grade and need greater than that, I think we're going to, how do you not? You listen to it, and then whether it's a yes or no is a totally different answer. But at what point do you say we're not talking to anybody or we're not listening to anybody? So I think.
So specifically for the folks that weren't funded in 2025, do we want them to reach out and get on our agenda to come back and tell us their needs? How do you want to handle that? Because there's needs in our community that weren't funded in 2025. And that's why we're seeing, some of these circumstances where I just want everybody to have an even playing field of knowing what to expect, and that we're communicating the same to all of them, I guess.
Yeah, I would say if they were funded prior to last year, and because of the lack of funding that has put them into a different situation, they have every right to come in and explain their situation. And like Commissioner Knoll said, that we will have to take that into consideration. But yeah, just to give them the right to come in and speak, yeah, I think they have to do that. We have to do that. So
okay. So do we want to give guidance to finance director to follow up with that initial email and say, if there are needs that you would like the commission to hear, please get on the agenda? Just so we're communicating across the board, because I know we're getting, asked by here and there and here, and we want to make sure that the communication is heard the same from all of them. So
everyone on the list.
Anybody, well, for those who reach out, I don't know that I don't know that it's necessarily an open invitation, but it's just that if they want to come before the board and speak their piece, and I think, yeah, they're welcome to do that.
So especially with the earlier email, that we would have to let them know that we are considering, because if a couple of them happen to hear about it and apply, and then these over here said, we were told not to apply.
That's my concern.
I think that we have to let them know to be across the board that okay, we're going to listen. We're going to take the application for whatever that may work, or if we fund it or not, and then they'll have to make reach out for an appointment. I probably wouldn't schedule anybody that didn't reach out to us. If that's maybe what you were meaning about, but I think there has to be an initial email or something to inform them, because it's kind of a little bit of a turn of directions.
Yeah, being the new guy here, I don't know what you've done in the past. I just know that moving forward, the ask is on the organization to ask for the funding. It's on them. But so whether or not we send out a mass email to those folks, that's another story. If you all think that that's the best way to go, I'm for that. It can't hurt. to do
Well, we've
that.
already done that.
Okay.
So we've done that on March 19th based on the guidance the board gave finance director and told them like nothing's required of you at this time. So I think to Eric's point of following up with come to us so that that same mailing list gets that same update so that nobody feels like, well, we were told to sit sideline and you missed us, you know, or whatever that looks like.
Sure, that's fine.
Okay. All right. That is all I have in comments. Okay, the first thing is a presentation of a proclamation. So I have an Atchison County proclamation. Whereas the children of Atchison County are the most valuable asset and deserve to live free from the threat of abuse and neglect. And whereas child abuse and neglect are serious public health issues that affect the well-being of children and families in our community, leaving lasting emotional, physical, and psychological consequences. And whereas it is the responsibility of all citizens to work together to create a safe and nurturing environment for children and provide them with the opportunity to grow and thrive. And whereas the month of April is nationally recognized as the Child Abuse Prevention Month, a time to raise awareness about child abuse and neglect and the ways we can all make a difference. And whereas the Atchison County Board of County Commissioners recognize the importance of prevention, education, and intervention programs in our community that offer support to families and promote the healthy development of children. And whereas the Atchison County Board of County Commissioners encourage every citizen to take action by learning the signs of abuse and neglect, supporting efforts to strengthen families, and being proactive in protecting our children from harm. Now, therefore, we, the Atchison County Board of County Commissioners, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2025 as Child Abuse Prevention Month in Atchison County, and encourage all residents to join in recognizing the importance of building strong, supportive families and communities for the protection and well-being of our children. In witness whereof, we have hereunto set our hands and caused the official seal of Atchison County to be affixed this first day of April 2025. Do I have a motion to approve the proclamation as read?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0. We also have our community corrections director present to take a photo with us for that because she plays a vital role in our community of supporting all of the things that I just read. So thank you, Katie. I think HR was going to come down and take a photo in a bit. Actually, do you mind just taking a photo of us real quick so that she doesn't have to stick around?
Yeah, you should.
You should hold it.
Oh, I don't think I need it. I was gonna offer to take the photo.
You're the star.
Thank you. Awesome.
Thank you. Yep.
Appreciate you coming and supporting. Okay. Next on the agenda, okay, new business. I have a letter of support. The Always Community Health Clinic in Atchison County is applying for a community services tax credit program application. So I will read the letter and call for a motion to allow the chair to sign on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners. This is for the Kansas Department of Commerce Community Services Tax Credit Program. for the Always Community Health Center letter of support. Dear Review Committee, on behalf of the Atchison County Board of County Commissioners, I am pleased to express our strong support for Always Community Health Center's application to the Kansas Community Services Tax Credit Program. As a trusted healthcare provider in our community, Always Community Health Center plays a vital role in ensuring that all residents, including uninsured and underserved populations, have access to quality medical and behavioral services. This funding opportunity will allow Always Community Health Center to renovate its downtown property at 516 Commercial Street, creating a dedicated 9,300 square foot medical clinic. This expansion will significantly enhance the availability of healthcare services in Atchison County by increasing capacity for primary care, behavioral health, and preventative care programs. Access to healthcare is essential for the well-being and economic vitality of our community. We fully support this initiative and urge the Kansas Department of Commerce to approve this application, enabling Always Community Health Center to continue its mission of serving those in need. Sincerely, and then I signed it. Do I have a motion to allow myself to sign this letter of support on behalf of the board?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0. All right. Next, we have Finance Director, consideration of PO for Sports Complex.
Last week, we talked about getting the reimbursement of the insurance property premium for 2025 for the Atchison Sports Complex, reimbursed from the sales tax money. So I created an invoice to put with the request for payment to Exchange Bank, to allow them to pay Atchison County to reimburse $7,794 for park facility, park irrigation, pump station, park electrical, storage building premium, and property in the open premium. So it's for the sports complex. So this would be coming out of the operating and management fund.
Okay. Thank you. All right, I would look for a motion to approve the request for payment as presented by our finance director.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next we have Joe Snyder, Road and Bridge Superintendent, with the County Lake mowing RFPs, consideration for PO for John Deere lease agreement, Atchison County Lake Road discussion. And at 10:45, so in 10 minutes, we will stop wherever we are within that and do the opening and reading of sealed bids for Ottawa Road Phase 2.
Good morning.
Morning.
Okay,
I'll keep an eye on that and
yes.
give you.
So we have sent out for bids or quotes for the lake like we do every year. And we came up with 2. Here is the first one,
Okay.
and the second one is there. And this is every 2 weeks.
Okay. I have 2 proposals here. I have Chalfant Lawn Care of Lancaster, Kansas, mowing and trimming around shelter houses each time, picking up trash in grassy areas. And that would be $1,500 per time. I have another from Ryan Hanshaw of Cummings, Kansas. And this is mowing the county lake every 2 weeks, plus weeding around the shelter houses and parts of the lake where residents fish, along with trash pickup. And this would be $500 a time. And so the invoice will be sent monthly, so every other week. So you're looking at $1,000.
Okay.
Per month. So $500 per time on this one, and each time would be $1,500 on Chalfant Lawn Care.
What was the name on the second?
Ryan Hanshaw of Cummings, Kansas.
And how much was it?
$500 per month.
$500
Every 2 weeks.
every other week. So
Okay.
do you want to,
I mean, that's
I'm sorry,
pretty cut and dried.
sorry, I wasn't asking. Do you want to make a motion?
Yes, I'll make a motion to accept the low bid.
Okay,
Second.
moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0. We'll just sign the bottom of this one. And there's both of them for review.
All right, next I have a PO with John Deere for the use of to lease a 6155 tractor at $20.72 per hour, guaranteed 350 hours. We would like to receive one invoice after delivery for the equipment with a total of $7,252. An additional invoice may be required for hours over 350 and any damages to the equipment after the equipment is picked up and mutually agreed to this date. The equipment shall be delivered to Atchison County Road and Bridge at 613 South 22nd Street. And we use this tractor mainly to mow, and we use it right up to the hours every year.
Okay,
So-
this is the same one that we do each
Yes,
year.
and this
Okay.
may be the last year of the contract. I've got to check, but I think this may be the last one.
That makes sense, because I was like, I saw it on the agenda and I'm like, what is, like, I
Yeah,
haven't
so
heard
we-
anything,
So what
but
we
this
do
is
is
what
we
we've
get
done
it,
every
we
year.
get it about the 1st of May,
You wanna
about the
send that
time we
faster,
start
Kim?
mowing, and then we mow with it. And other than, there's really no cost to us to upkeep, as long as we don't tear anything up, and we haven't so far, so.
Are we signing this?
Yeah, I'll call for a motion. I just didn't know if you wanted to see that.
Gotcha.
So I would look for a motion to approve the Atchison County Road and Bridge rent for the John Deere 6155M tractor at a rate of $20.72 per hour for a guaranteed 350 hours.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0.
So we have 5 minutes.
Yeah, 5 minutes. I don't think you have time to do the lake discussion right now, so.
Well, I can kind of recap a little bit. We've finished the low water crossing in place of a bridge on 219th. It's at the same elevation as the bridge was. Water in the spring sometimes overtop the bridge, so we put in 2 culverts and concreted the top of it and on both ends, so that if the water does go over the top of it, it will still have our facility. We're should be almost done with replacing a tube on Bourbon Road where a auger wagon fell through the under 20 wooden bridge. That should be done today. We're still working on Ottawa Road. We've got 1 culvert to put in today, and then some end sections, and then 1 small one, and then we've got our part done. And then as soon as the big culverts show up, then we will contact Tunks, and they'll come in and get those 3 culverts put in.
Have you been using the Durapatcher?
Yes, it's out today going south of Effingham and north of Effingham.
Because that one there south of Cunningham,
Yes, it's rough.
that's a deep one.
Yeah.
And
no.
there's several, but they're shallow
Right.
from about Don Falk's property south.
Yeah, no, we've been on Ottawa, and we'll find out whether that work's gonna be done this year or next year. It's gonna take a lot of it, and we need to go down 286 too. But yes, there's a crew today going until the wind gets so bad that it blows oil everywhere. We've been on North Edwards
up by 310, there's a huge hole there. So, and then when this weather gets straightened out a little bit, and after we find out what's going on today, then I'll go back to measuring what we can do to get these patches taken care of. Anybody have any questions about anything?
The Bourbon Road Bridge, was that just planks that you replaced, or was that?
It was an under 20 plank culvert.
It broke down the under,
Yeah, it busted everything.
yeah.
It did.
And this would have been, if we'd have rebuilt it, it would have been the second time in like 3 years that we've had to
And it's
Very good.
narrow. I
and
mean,
it's narrow, but I mean, we had a 30-foot culvert, and that's what I had, so that's what we put in.
Oh, good.
And when those situations arise, we're going to have to use what we have and try to make the best we can with it. So I think it'll be wide enough a combine can drive across it. So they should be hopefully happy that the road will be opened.
Yep.
So we're trying to get all that done before the rain tonight. So
2 minutes.
okay.
I'll just say this for the public. If the public sees any road signs that are in ditches or been pulled and placed where they're not supposed to, let somebody know, because they're very expensive. I had a individual from Effingham contacted me and I picked a sign up that was on the dirt road at a half-mile line where somebody dumped it out, but we can utilize those signs again. So just let somebody at the county know and we'll pass it on and we'll come pick it up.
But it's also, if somebody notices something, with the culvert or something, let us know. We had somebody call in on 206 Road, talk to Eric, and that's a situation we're going to have to address fairly soon. It's not going to be an easy, simple one, but we're going to have to get something done there. So, and if you see, there has been bridge inspectors going around doing load ratings. So if you see people crawling around bridges looking at them, that's what they're doing. So I've had several people comment that they've seen our inspector, but it wasn't ours. It's one that the state hires to do the load ratings. So
10:45.
Yep, you're good.
okay. Thank you. We have 2 bids for the phase 2 of Ottawa Road, which would be the road rehabilitation. The first 2 miles from 262nd to 246th. We received a $1 million grant from K.S.A to help us with this. And this first one is King's Construction from Oskaloosa. With the bid of $1,218,022. The second one is from Lina Weaver from Lansing.
What's the name again?
Lina Weaver, Linaweaver. And their bid is $1,350,205.
Pretty close.
And I wanted to give you guys the projected engineered estimate. And the engineer's estimate was $1,584,940. $5.50. And what we typically do is I will meet with the engineers, we will discuss this and come back next week.
Sounds good.
The recommendations.
Here you go. I'll just let you have it.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you guys for coming.
I'll give these back to you, Angie.
We had 6 bidders on phase 1, just 2 on phase 2.
Well, some of what I was told is that some of these, this isn't as big a project as a lot of people like to, if they're doing 4 or 5 miles. They prefer that. There was one company that was the wasn't big enough. Thank you. Alrighty.
Next is Atchison County Lake Road discussion.
Okay, so
So I just invited GIS to come and talk about any road platting or whatever needs to happen. I don't know what the next step is in that process.
the only thing I did do, I wanted everybody to be aware of, and I probably didn't make enough copies. I just copied off private land owned around the lake. Some of it is, we've got 2, Frank Davis and a Mary Beth Davis that is on the south end of the lake. Mary Beth is accessed by Clay Road, and Frank's would be landlocked. So if we needed to do something on that south little stretch here, that would be something where we come off of Clay. I don't know if I have enough, so.
Do you want me to address something here?
Sure.
I came to you a couple of weeks ago and talked about potential, maybe it was a week ago, I don't know. No, I think it was 2 weeks ago, and talked about locating a surveyor who could find the roads for us, or who could define the roads for us and put those in. We put it out to 4 surveyors. We had 2 of those that reached back, Land Plan and Midland, who do a lot of surveying in our area, reached back to us and asked for additional information. We provided them both with a package of information that had deeds and many of the things around it. Let me tell you, in the very beginning, what occurred is there was a road going right down the middle of this, and then there were a couple of roads going north and south. And at the time that it was done, the county acquired these properties. And when they were going to put the lake in, they had a plan of the lake, and they just located all of these drives on there as lake drives. And the lake drives are all contained upon, or at least we consider that they're all contained within the properties that the county bought to put the lake in. When you look at that, it seems like it'd be real easy. We could just go define them. The issue is that they're not always right on the edge of the property. And so how are you going to define those roads? We're going to look at, the surveyors would look at surveying the center line and then saying a right of way for these roads. It's whatever width that you desire, whether it's 50 feet, 60 feet, whatever that width is, because you're retaining that as part of the right of way of it. But then once you determine that, there are going to be a number of areas where the adjacent property owners are not going to abut that right of way. And so you may have an issue where people who currently have access to those drives wouldn't have access because you're getting ready to sell it. And so you need to take a stronger look at what the boundary is of the parcel that you would sell should you choose to sell it. Okay. There are a couple of ways that we can go about this, and I've discussed it with both of the surveyors who have proposed it. One is they could just go in and survey the tracks you have. They could survey the roads you have. And then they could say, you need to dedicate these roads, and here's the tracks you're going to sell. And then there might have to be something drawn up that says, well, these people still get access to those roads, and here's how you're going to define those access roads. And there would be some issues about, what little slivers of land that if you sell the property, and let's say there's a 10-foot strip of land between the road and the adjacent property owner, do you really, really want to sell that to another person? Wouldn't it be better served in the hands of the adjacent property owner? Now, because those kinds of things will get you a lot of people coming in here to discuss it. The other possibility is that you look at surveying the property that was originally purchased and then platting that property. Now, you could plat it as one piece, and then the roads are dedicated as part of that plat. So in one case, you have to go out and you have to create the roads and dedicate them. The other case, you use the survey of that plat to create the major parcel, maybe some smaller parcels that are adjacent to these existing parcels that you say, we really don't want to have this separated from them. You plat the roads, you dedicate the roads as part of the plat. You're the ones who are going to accept that plat. So these are the legal signatures which would need to be on it, but then it would actually create that parcel of property. There's arguments about why to do either one. I just think whatever you do, you want to make sure that you're, so to speak, cleaning up the loose ends so that they don't come back to haunt you. And it's not just as simple as, hey, here's what we bought, let's deed it back, because you're not going to open up the old road that you closed when you built the lake. And so what you have to do is make sure that everyone is getting access to their property. Anytime you do that, someone's going to have another idea how this should be done. Please be aware of that. There will be people who aren't delighted. If you have an idea, and again, I'm only acquiring the potential of getting it surveyed because I came to you all and you said, yeah, that's probably a decent idea of getting definitions on the roads. Once you define the roads, you're going to have to look at how do you adjust that parcel. So, does this make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It does. I just have a quick question between your first and second option. So if we were to survey and plat it as one, those roads running through would still remain public. They wouldn't be part of the plat, correct? I was just trying to understand. Or option two was keeping them part of the plat. Because I guess my end goal, based on feedback from the public, is to ensure that they're public roads, that the public can still.
When you do a plat, let's say something as simple as September Hills, okay? When they plat that property, they survey it, they break it up, it's got roads on it, and there's a dedication statement on that plat that says any roads which are previously shown on this and not any longer used will hereby be vacated, and any roads and easements shown on this plat will heretofore be dedicated for public use.
Okay.
So they would become public roads. That, in essence, you have your usual method of issuing a petition, but that plat would suffice, unless Pat says I'm wrong on this, but I don't think so.
Absolutely perfect.
But that plat would suffice for your dedication of those roads as public roads.
Okay.
And you can state right on there. Now, to give you an example, there is a little subdivision on 262nd Road at Highway 73. I'm trying to think of the name of
Hunter's
it.
Landing.
Huh?
Hunter's Landing.
Hunter's Landing. The plat actually has another name, but the road is Hunter's Landing Road. And when that plat was done, because they didn't bring that to standard, there's actually a note right on the plat that says that this road remains a private road until the owner brings it up to standard and it is accepted by the county commission for public dedication. So that isn't the public road. Joe doesn't have to go in and do anything. The townships don't go in there and do anything. That's on them to take care of that until such time that they come back to the county to get it dedicated. In this case, if you dedicated it, it would be a public road.
And currently all the roads listed on here, 326, 324th, and Clay, are all needing a dedication one way or another, correct?
I'm not sure I can exactly answer that. I know there's a chunk of 324th near the dam where the spillway has gone over and washed it out. And it's been closed now, I've been told, for a couple of years anyway. There wouldn't be any reason to create that section of road because you're just creating yourself a problem to maintain. What you want to do is make sure that whatever you're creating is what is essential. And that is something that even when if you take a look at it, I'm assuming you need the entire thing on the north side of the lake.
Yes.
You have no question there. And I am assuming that you need the south side from the east over to Clay Road. And then Clay Road goes south. So as long as you have those two chunks in there, I think you're good. I think that little chunk of 324th from Clay Road west.
Is this currently an open road on the south?
No,
that's not a road.
That's
You
not a
gotta
road.
go on down.
Well, it looks like, because of the line on there, like that was a road.
I think that's just a property line.
Right.
Okay.
That's why I
Well, that's what
highlighted those.
I was wondering, because like I say, well, then he wouldn't be landlocked. Excuse me. So that is
So that's
landlocked.
not a road.
That's not a road here.
I think
That is not a road.
You gotta go clear to, what is it, 310th? Is that right? No, 318.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't get all of it in there. I was just trying to show.
Well, and what you could do in that case, Eric, what you could do in that case, here's Clay Road. You could do an easement across here
Right.
because you're doing a plat.
Hmm.
You can include easements on the plat, and when you dedicate it, you'll dedicate an easement that can be used as a private drive because these people aren't going to want that a public road so that everybody goes back in there necessarily.
Okay.
And if you did a private, an easement across there that allows them to have a field access to their drive,
And
I think you'd
So
probably suffice.
that's why I included those, because if you go up there to the city of Horton has a well house right in the middle of a little hay field, and I wanted everybody to be aware. Roger has the information, but I wanted you all to be aware that those were the only properties that I saw any question on.
Right. And to answer your question, if you go either of those routes, but if you go the platting route, we can bring you a preliminary before it's all finalized and say, here's what they're proposing. Is this going to take care of everything you want done?
Help me summarize the plat route versus the other route
Okay.
and the pros and the cons of both. I just kind of want to better understand that process because I understand the road dedication process and just understanding. And I also understand some of these landlocked parcels that we have to clean up. So it would be basically an individual route versus platting would be covering the entire parcel.
Platting would be putting the whole thing together as a parcel. It was purchased as, I think, 7 different pieces of property. I don't remember the exact number, but I think 7 pieces of property. Platting would put those pieces together. It would show you an overall and have a description of the property, and then it would show the roads within that. Otherwise, what they're going to do is they're going to take all those pieces.
Yep.
They might do them all as one big chunk anyway, but they would survey each one of those, and then they would show, then they would still have to have a description for the center line and the right of way of that road where it intersects with that property.
Which is why when we look it up on our map search, there are several parcels you have to individually add up. So it would make sense to plat it as one property if that's the intention of how we are going to move forward and sell it, because we just prevented the future owner from having all these issues that we see happen every day with landowners. Would that be accurate?
That is a fair statement. And the reason I always say property division is when you divide property, when you plat property, when you work with it, it seems like a very cumbersome process. But there's a reason for that. Is you're dividing property, and that will forever become legal descriptions and the people will own it. And if you don't, I can tell you these things just keep coming back to bite us.
So would we
That's a
utilize,
fair statement, isn't it?
It is.
would we utilize our GIS department or our county engineer to assist with this process? Or I guess, is there a cost associated with platting?
It's going to have to be surveyed to plat.
Okay.
And
And
so
that's
that's
what
why
Midland
I
and
have gone
Land-
out. We have two firms that are looking at submitting a proposal to do that right now. And when that comes in, we'll be looking. You're surveying 7 tracks that didn't have excellent descriptions in the beginning. I can tell you some of these parcels around the lake, they don't close. And when I close, I say, when I talk about closing, when you survey, let's say you survey a boundary, when you begin and you come back around and it says, and it gives you the last one that says to the point of beginning, those need to come together. Now, there are standards by which they have to come together. And the standards usually, even on agricultural land, is 1/10 of a foot. Some of these don't close within 150 feet. And so that says there's a mistake somewhere in them. And so it's up to a surveyor to read those and determine where that mistake was made and who owns what property. Because those are issues going on. And if we don't solve them now, there'll just be issues going on later and people are going to say, well, why didn't you fix this? Now, it's not going to be a cheap thing. I am telling you, the survey will not be really, really cheap because you're surveying all these road locations. You're going to have to put in legals for that, and then you're surveying these other 7 tracks. And so when I say not cheap, I don't have a number yet, but I guess it's somewhere between $10,000 and $20,000.
So with that being said, regardless of what the final decision is, it's in the best interest of the county to plat the roads going through and to plat the property into one parcel. Because we see these problems with landowners and constituents all day long, but if we're not fixing our own problems, it almost seems, I feel like this is a good move regardless of if you sell it or if you don't sell it. Cleaning it up and dedicating roads is a benefit to the public, period, right?
Would appear to me.
That's where the way I look at it, and especially for the folks that are very concerned about having public access. We don't have dedicated roads now, so why wouldn't we want to do that regardless of keeping it or selling it?
And in my conversation with both surveyors, because they both called to discuss it with me, they want to know the process for platting, which I always say, we really don't have one, but the people who are going to be hiring you to do this are the signatures you need to complete it. So there's no preliminary plats. There's no difficult process. It's not like they're going to get denied because they're the ones who are hiring you to do it. So there's not going to be this big paperwork battle. You take a plat to the city, you got to have a prelim. It might alter. You're going to have to go for a final. Somebody might say, no, we want this, we want this, we want this. There's a time span. There's meetings to travel to. There's all these things to do. We can resolve all those issues very quickly because the signatures, The owner's signature is the county commission signature.
Is there any negative to rolling them all together?
Coming up with 20,000.
Well, obviously, yeah, the cost, but I'm just curious, you know, if there's any, because I can't think of one. That's what I'm trying to say is like, what am I
Someone
missing?
will find one, but I really don't think so. I think it's a pretty easy way out of it. But you know what? When you get down to it, I've asked for proposals. I've suggested give us both directions. Let's see what they say when they come back with it. But it seems like a pretty simple, straightforward way of doing it. And actually, once it's signed, all the roads are dedicated, everything is done. It seems easier than me. It seems easier than bringing you the roads, getting you to approve the roads, and then going back and trying to describe the parcels without the roads.
Well, and help me understand the current status because they're not dedicated, but we're maintaining them as county roads, correct?
326 and
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and we're also not having anybody challenge it. We're not having anybody that's putting up a roadblock and saying, you can't travel on this because it's mine. It's
Right.
not dedicated
I mean,
as
they-
a public road.
in the past, they put a new bridge in not that long ago. 2 of them, I believe.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're actually park roads. Because when the lake was put in, these were shown on the plan, and there is actually a note on there that says, this is the general location of these roads, but they may be adjusted for the topography.
okay. Well, because I'm just,
And you also own the land, so I don't think there's any question that the public has the right to be on them.
okay.
It would be a really specious argument for somebody to say it's not a public road.
So there's private park roads versus public roads, which is the end goal.
They're both open to the
I
public.
think they're public because it's public land, it's open, but I mean, I guess if you wanted to close them, maybe you could do that. I mean, I don't want to spend a lot of time researching it.
No.
explaining
And
it
that's
to you,
not,
but-
I'm just trying to understand the difference, right? Of like, we're maintaining them that now and they're ours, versus the process of spending the money to have them dedicated and we would continue to maintain them. And I guess it's just the change of ownership if,
That is the difference.
Yeah.
Because 99% of the time, we don't own the land that the road sits on, someone else owns it.
Yeah.
And the dedication defines the area that we have the right to use to maintain the road. We have this 50-foot or 60-foot or 40-foot or whatever, however wide it is, to define the area that we have the right to work in to maintain the road.
thank you.
So, and currently, I think it's 4 different parcels for under the county's system,
I think it was 7.
7 parcels, okay.
Well, and what I'm saying is one of the, it occurs in 2 different sections, but one of them was 3 pieces, I think. So it might have been 4, 5, 6, 7. One of them was 4 pieces, I believe. I don't have it right here with me at the moment, but
I don't have it pulled up right now.
I think I've
but
looked at this
Roger
enough
sounds
lately
right.
to be able to easily say that one of the quarter sections had like 4 descriptions in it. The one on the north side of the lake. And then there are also, going through it, there are easements that we've granted back to property owners in some cases. And so all those things, I always think it's a good idea to straighten those all out somewhere. But you may say, hey, if we just go get the roads and then sell those pieces back, but I do have a feeling that if you do that, somebody's going to come back in here somewhere and say, wait a minute, this didn't work the way you thought it would. And so I just like to find those things out. So it's a habit of mine.
While we're talking about this, there's also been, I saw on social media some claims by general members of the public that the land is subject to some reversionary interest That is, if the county ceases to use the property as a lake, that the property automatically reverts to the prior owners. I have looked at all of the deeds that were issued to the county that were where the land was granted to the county when it was purchased in 1934 and 1935. And none of those deeds include language in them that retains a reversionary interest for the landowner. Now, it may be the case that, it's been a decade since I looked at this, but it may be the case that there was some language like that in a eminent domain filing. And because as I'm recalling, there was an eminent domain case that was filed, but then was dismissed because they reached agreement with the landowners. And so they didn't obtain title through eminent domain, they obtained title through agreement. And that's the only thing I could think of would be the reason why people might have thought that. But there is nothing in the public record that supports the position that if the county ceases to use this land as a county lake property, that the land reverts to someone else. So you do have the absolute right to sell the land if you wish to sell the land. You'd have to make a decision on that and vote on it and whatnot. But there's nothing that gives a reversionary interest back to individuals who granted land to the county.
I've got a question on that, not that it applies, but say if there was it would revert back to the original owners. Well, it's quite obvious they're not here. I mean, who would it revert to? Would it go back to the adjoining property that it was once attached to and the new owners? Or would you look up I just don't see how that would even work when it's been this long,
The city of Acton just went through this with Morrow Ballpark. Morrow was one of those that had a reversion clause that said, should it ever cease to be used as a park, then it must refer to the original owners. Were you in on that one?
I certainly talked with
Okay.
the city attorney.
We went looking for, because obviously it had been like 120 years, probably the original owner was not still alive. We looked for heirs, and we found one person that we thought might be an heir in California, and their comment was, I want nothing to do with this. And so after considerable search, we ended up deeding it right back to the original individual. Their mailing address was unknown. It goes nowhere. And then the parcel was finally sold at tax sale because the initial individual obviously wasn't going to get the tax statements and weren't going to pay tax. But we had no idea where else to send it. Now, that is an actual occurrence that happened here within the last 5 years. So,
Okay.
So it would go back to the original owners, and if they're deceased, you would have to look to see whether there had been probate proceedings filed for them. If there hadn't, it would go according to the laws of intestate succession. So it would be very fact dependent. And at this time, you're probably talking about at least 2 generations, maybe 3, maybe 4 even, depending on how old the grantor was in 1934 or 1935 when they granted the land. So.
Thank you.
But just to clarify, that was an example.
Right, we don't
So-
have that.
Yeah.
Right.
So if you just want to reiterate that
We
it
own the
doesn't.
land free and clear. There are no reversionary
Yeah.
interests. I do have copies of all the deeds, and I don't know if you want them, I can send you copies of them. And they are all. We have a system where, particularly things involving transfer of land or interests in land, are recorded with the Register of Deeds office, and the purpose of that is to impart public notice that somebody claims an interest in land. So if you have an interest in land and you file something in the Register of Deeds office, everybody who is looking to buy the land or who has a question about it can go there and research and find out what the situation is with regard to title, so that you don't have people selling land that they don't really own. But people would be able to check that. Well, they can go check the deeds to this property and they could see that, that there is no reversionary interest. So,
Now, anytime you do anything like this, you're going to have all the experts come out of the woodwork. And somebody else hit me up about this and said, "What's this a WPA project? And isn't there probably an agreement that was signed by a commission way back when that says that, you know, this project requires you to forever maintain it or something?" But we've seen projects like that over the years.
this
They go
actually
away.
predates WPA. It's
Okay.
by a few years, but there were WPA projects to put toilets in individual homes.
Yeah.
There's no the federal government doesn't necessarily retain ownership of something just because there was a federal project involved or federal monies involved.
Thank you.
I have one thing that I omitted.
Okay.
Lina Weaver can start August 11th of 2025. They were the 1,350,205. And King's Construction 316 of 26, and they were $1,218,022. I'll apologize for. Normally we don't do it this way.
That's good to know.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So do you have any other instructions for me for in conversation with these surveyors?
I'm just curious to know the cost.
Me too.
So,
They're real shy about shooting it. And again, the one thing I'm going to be very careful of is, and they are professional services. I said, I need to know what you think it will cost.
Mhm.
But these are not bids.
Yeah.
And so when you get them, you can always negotiate, as I put it.
thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for the help.
All right, next we have just a reminder that the tax sale is May 6th at 3 p.m. at Memorial Hall. April is County Government Month, so there probably be hearing more about that. We have 31825 expense consent agenda.
Yeah. There was no payroll that week.
Okay.
There was a lot of departments that had credit card bills that they were paying. And so I normally put in an attachment, a report, and then the credit card statement with all of the invoices, but it was 95 pages. So by the time I got that all compiled, it wouldn't fit in the email. So I have it here if you haven't looked at it already. But it's a smaller amount. It's just a lot of documents that make up the amount. So it was $6,574.93. It had EMS, appraiser, maintenance, HR, sheriff, solid waste, dispatch, wellness, register of deeds, and road and bridge in there. So like I said, we already approved them. The board has signed them, but if you'd like to look at them again, I have. The check date total for 319 was $158,076.23. 79,505 was for culvert replacement on project N.5-24.8. I didn't see any other issues. I know Pat's already went through them. You've already approved them, but so that's all I have for those. Just when we went to do this consent agenda for that week, that was the same week that the cyber incident happened. So I didn't have any of the data at the time to relay it to you.
Thank
I
you.
have something real quick.
Yep.
Reminder, the county cleanup
Oh, yes.
is April 25th and 26th. We discussed a couple weeks ago about dumpsters for the cities of the third class. FDM says they don't need one.
Okay.
I've got a yes for Lancaster, and I haven't heard back from Huron, and I've been trying to call Muskota. I don't have an email for him. So,
Mr. Higley? Is it
yes.
still him? I have his. I'll send it to you.
Okay.
Is it not your biennial?
for Muskota.
Oh, let's go there. Okay, never mind.
I haven't heard back from her for hearing, but in another thing, I don't have Mr. Higley's.
Is Deb Liggett still the clerk?
I think so, yes.
Okay.
Give me a second. Well, so this is just a thing on mayors, so.
I'm going to forward you Deb Liggett. Actually, I have Brian Higley too. Which one do you? I'll just send you both.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And I've been asking for locations for where they would need to be placed if they're delivered a dumpster. Who would I relate that to? Stacy?
Yeah, she's communicating with Austin, so that'll be good.
Okay. And when do we need to have that to her?
Probably the sooner the better. I can ask them on Thursday at my solid waste meeting because Austin will be there too,
Okay.
and then let you know next week.
Well, since F&M said they didn't need that one, do we keep it and send it somewhere else, or?
Yeah, I think your towns will want.
Okay. All right, we'll just leave it open then.
All right, so I'm gonna send you those right now. Deb Higley and Deb Liggett. Okay, so that's all I have. No notices in communications, no executive sessions. So I would look for a motion to adjourn into workshop with our first budget workshop scheduled for 12 p.m. So
moved.
Clarification, are we doing a workshop with Joe before that?
yes, so we'll just have commission workshop until our first scheduled budget is HR at noon. Then we have finance director 12:30 for the general, and then 1 o'clock for the commission and
Yeah, it's on at 12:30.
finance. Sorry, I don't have that schedule pulled up you sent me, but basically we have commission workshop until noon, and then budgets start.
Okay, I'll second that.
Okay. So moved, seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0. We will adjourn at 11:25.
And we'll just hit the little stop
I'm
button.
looking for how to spell. Oh, there it is. Debbie Liggett. G-A-N.
No.
It should be up there.
Eric Knoll.